Watson Fetal from 2017, in which they've taken these brain organoids and they've actually been able to graft them into a mouse and actually look at functional neuronal networks and vascularization, such as blood vessels. So these are all critical studies. And another example, Levine was able to actually take some of these. Actually, Zhang and Al were able to actually take these and actually research human developmental brain by recapitulating the medial ganglion organoids and cortical organoids. So there are multiple examples. I could keep talking just about how, and this is just brain development. This isn't even talking about retinal development, kidney development, and these are so key studies that can be done looking at multiple areas of development in the fetus.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank the chairman for letting me talk.
Yeah, I thank the gentleman. The chair recognizes the ranking member of the Government Operations Subcommittee, Mr. Conley.
I thank the chair, and I know you're next. Actually, I'm simply going to insert in the record my opening statement. I won't read it, other than to point out, because I know Dr. Temple was going to try to point out, the idea that stem cell research can do it all is not true. And we also know that, frankly, fetal tissues research can save lives and can be pioneering in dealing with lots of diseases and conditions that are life-saving, potentially. And so, if we want to talk about being pro-life, there's another side to that, and that is trying to save lives, both prospectively and those that are already here, from horrible conditions and diseases. And one of the examples in my opening statement has to do with the efficacy of Truvada, for example, a life-saving drug that with which human tissues, fetal tissue, actually made a huge difference. So in any event, I would ask to enter my opening statement into the record, and I thank the chairman for his consideration.
I thank the gentleman. The chair recognizes Ms. Watson Coleman for her line of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to thank the witnesses for being here today. I want to start by saying how disappointed I am that I'm even sitting here today on this issue.
Of course you are.
I sat on the select investigative panel that was mentioned by my former colleague that wasted $1.5 million in taxpayer money on a witch hunt that incessantly attacked women's health and tried to intimidate doctors out of giving care. This hearing is yet another callous attempt to obstruct women's access to proper care and to impede life-saving research. I'd like to focus my questions on how the use of fetal tissue is contributing to the fight against HIV/AIDS. Earlier this month, as we commemorated National AIDS Day, we mourned the loss of family and friends and community members who are facing and who have passed at the hands of this terrible disease. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in 2016, just shy of 40,000 people received an HIV diagnosis in the United States. Despite progress made in recent years, HIV/AIDS remains one of our nation's most pressing public health issues, one that disproportionately impacts the LGBT community and the communities of color. Dr. Temple, in your opening statement, you talked about the importance of fetal tissue research in developing the HIV/AIDS treatment, including the prophylactic treatment Truvada. In their opening statements, Dr. Prentice and Dr. Sandra Lee assert that the other types of tissue, for example, what is known as neothigh tissue, can in fact replace fetal tissue in efforts to humanize mice. Could you please explain or just restate whether or not these claims are correct or not?
Those claims are not correct.
In fact, the committee received a letter just this morning, Doctor, from Dr. Michael Brown, the author of a paper on humanized mice that Dr. Prentice and Dr. Sandra Lee pointed to in their statements. And he wrote, as I quote, "It is premature to take generalizable conclusions about the neothigh replacing fetal tissue, BLT type models in all humanized mouse research applications. Further, in no way does our paper, his paper, support the claim that fetal tissue research as a whole is no longer needed. To that extent, I'd like to unanimous consent to enter this letter dated December the 13th into the official record.
Without objection.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Temple, does it surprise you that the author of the paper cited in Dr. Prentice and Dr. Lee Sanders' testimony wrote about the importance of fetal tissue in humanized mice?
Does it surprise me? Could you say it again, please?
Does it surprise you that the author of the paper cited in Dr. Prentice and Dr. Sanders Lee's testimonies wrote about the importance of fetal tissue humanized mice?
No, because this is the consensus of our field, that it is essential and cannot be substituted by such models, new model that has not yet been tested for HIV research.
Thank you,
For
Dr. Temple.
example.
This past September, the Trump administration ordered scientists employed by the National Institutes of Health to stop obtaining fetal tissue. This order has reportedly disrupted the HIV research using humanized mice at the Montana-based Rocky Mountain Laboratories. According to scientists involved in this research, even if they were given the green light to resume acquiring necessary fetal tissue, it would take them a year to get their research back on track.
You're just trying to
How does
legalize it, you
this
little
limiting access to
swamp
fetal
creature.
tissue undermine the work of the scientific community?
Look like a straight alien.
Dr.
dude.
Temple.
Yes. So any delay or restriction on this research will have devastating consequences on current programs that are using the fetal tissue to develop new cancer therapies, to develop new vaccines. And I want to explain that in a comment to an earlier point, that scientists do not do this because they are wedded to an old or outdated model. The models are the only ones that we have currently that will do what we need in order to research into the diseases and into the therapy development. And I also am an expert in brain organoids, and they do not recapitulate the fetal tissue. They are not complete. Unfortunately, I do this every day. And so I know this very well. They are not a full model of brain development.
Okay, so you do it every day and it makes it right.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I simply want to say that as a grandmother of an autistic child, as a diabetic myself, as a recent cancer patient myself, I am personally engaged and committed to all kinds of research that will help us to overcome these devastating diseases or to help us to live with them because these therapies are developed. And I believe that
the one that
is where we
gives us the rights in our Constitution,
this administration
the one that you're supposed to uphold,
where there's climate change or fetal
the one, the ultimate healer, the one God, Jesus Christ,
here. And I support the
His
work
Son,
that is being done here and will continue to do so. With that, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
came here and died for us and taught us the ways of healing
1.14 minutes.
so that we can
I
heal
thank the gentlewoman,
others
and I wish her well
through
in
God,
her battle against
our Father.
I wish you well, and we'll be
And you
praying
demonic
for you in your
creature
battle
just wanna
against this dreaded disease.
promote otherwise. It's
The
disgusting.
chair recognizes the president of